0 out of 10. This is bad. This season
worst.
sucks.
Fantasy!
The worst TV show ever. It's so bad.
Fuck.
Worst TV
This
show
song
ever.
sucks.
Running out of time. Hey guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, running out of time right now. I have no time at all. It doesn't exist anymore. Anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna get straight to the point here. I'm supposed to be making this video like 3 days ago, but I have no time at all. Anyway, I'm going to do an album review on one of my favorite rap albums ever, Kanye West's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So Kanye West is, if you haven't noticed, if you've been living under a rock, he is a rapper, an artist, a singer, a clothing line designer, and a visionary. He's also one of the most controversial artists of our generation after the very infamous incident with Taylor Swift and the VMAs, also his Trump endorsements, also what he said about Bush and Saturday Night Live, and all those interviews and all those tweets and all those drama. Kanye West is he seems like a very, very controversial person. But putting the controversy aside and focusing on the music, I have to say he has been making some of the most creative and artistic mainstream rap music ever, and he has been one of the most influential rappers ever as well. I mean, I'm not saying that he's Tupac, Biggie, or Wu-Tang Clan or anything, but his contributions to hip-hop is actually very, very, very large. Before talking about this album, I would like to go through some of his other albums as well, because his debut album, The College Dropout, is probably just as good as this one. It's a pretty humble start, not as artistic, not as ambitious, but the songs they're just quality songs. I mean, the new workout plan is super duper underrated. I laugh every time I listen to the song, and it's catchy AF. I love the very cheeky strings. The track Jesus Walks is probably my favorite Kanye West song because it's really catchy, but also at the same time it's gritty, it's heavy. And we also have Late Registration, which also has amazing songs like Gold Digger featuring Jamie Foxx, who's an actor, but who actually gave a really solid performance on that song, and it's a really funky, danceable, groovy song. And then we have the Diamonds from Sierra Leone track, which is unfortunately just a bonus song, but the very luscious instrumentations, the sampling of the original track, which is a James Bond theme song. It's just genius. I love it a lot. And then afterwards we have Graduation, which in my opinion is not as good. This is probably Kanye West trying his best to appeal to the mainstream. Of course, we have Stronger, which is my first Kanye West song. I've listened to this song many, many times when I was like very young, like grade 5, elementary school. This is one of my first few rap songs that really turned me into rap music. The Daft Punk samples on this thing of Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger is also fantastic. It's just very futuristic and cyberpunk-esque. There's also the Can't Tell Me Nothing song off of Graduation, which is amazing. Same goes for Flashing Lights, which is also a song that I've listened to a long time ago, and I just love how beautiful and luscious the strings are, yet at the same time it's so drunken in itself. And of course we have Homecoming featuring Chris Martin of Coldplay. Of course I love the hell out of this song the first time I listened to it because of the fact that it's Chris Martin and Kanye West. But afterwards, just a year after, we have 808s and Heartbreak, which is an album where Kanye West basically sings with auto-tune and some really electronic and cold-blooded trap beats. Almost trap, but not quite, but definitely the auto-tune element is there. And this is also one of the most influential rap albums ever. I mean, because of this album, a lot of rap artists really turned to auto-tune. And the tracks Say You Will and Heartless are my favorites. And of course, we have this album, which is this really sudden left turn. It's very artistic, very ambitious, yet mainstream. And after this, Kanye West at his most experimental with the album Yeezus, which is one of the weaker albums in his discography, in my opinion. It does grow on you a little bit after a few listens, but still, the attempts of just experimental electronic driven hip-hop on this album is kinda weak, even though tracks like Bound 2 and of course the total banger Black Skinhead is awesome. I mean, just look at the SNL live. Of course, we have The Life of Pablo in the year 2016, which is actually not that good initially, but it keeps on changing and shifting. The track list keeps on swapping places, and now it's actually a pretty solid album with a lot of great tracks. The track Famous is one of my favorites off of 2016. Fade is a really groovy, danceable banger. Of course, we have Ultralight Beam, we have Real Friends, and also Father Stretch My Hands Part 1, which is this really sunny, bright song. And then in the year 2018, he decided to produce 5 small albums that are about 23, 24 minutes long, just 7 tracks, starting off with Pusha-T's Daytona, then his own album Ye, where he sort of deals with his own mental issues, and it's a more soulful, low-key album, but it's an effort that I appreciate a lot. Of course, we have Kids See Ghosts, a collaboration with Kid Cudi, which is amazing. It's colorful, it's vivid, it's surreal, it's dreamy. I love it. And then we have 2 pretty lackluster albums with Nas and Tiana Taylor. But back to this album. This is one of my favorite albums from Kanye West. I don't know if this album is better or College Dropout is better, but this is probably a peak in the history of pop rap. And Kanye West really shows his strengths on this album because he's really well known for amazing sampling. The way he samples is some of the most creative in hip hop ever, and because his sampling is so good, every single track off of this album is distinct from one another. It's all artistic, catchy, and has different flavors and colors and textures, and it's friggin' awesome. And of course, this album is colorful in tone. The beats are really, really well produced. The lyrics are pretty funny at times, sometimes maybe a little drab, which is one of the minor flaws of this album, but I still like it a lot. And this album is artistic. And if you have seen the 34-minute long Runaway music video, which is actually my favorite music video of the decade, you know how much Kanye West respects the artistry on this album, and yet he manages to make the art mainstream, which is just impressive. The album opener, Dark Fantasy, is one of the most captivating and entertaining hip-hop album openers of the decade. We have Nicki Minaj in the beginning, just sort of speaking in a British accent, which isn't the best British accent ever. I mean, is clearly fake. And she sort of recites this poem over some distorted samples, which is very bright, which then leads to some choir vocals, which is actually really sunny, really theatrical, a very cinematic opening. It's like waking up early in the morning to see the sunrise. It's a really beautiful way to open off. And then we get the beat and the instrumentals, which is incredibly bouncy and cheeky. It's also extremely catchy, and we have a very confident performance from Kanye on this track. The lyrics on this track is also really funny, and towards the end we get some auto-tuned singing and rapping on top. The singing is more loud, but at the same time suppressed and muffled. Not the best way to treat a vocal sample, in my opinion, but it still works amazingly with the half talking, half rapping that Kanye performed on top of it. And it's just a totally solid opener for the album. I actually really love it. Afterwards, we have the track Gorgeous, which has this really nice sort of 70s edge, smoky bass guitars. And on top of it, we get the singing from Kid Cudi and Raekwon, which is actually pretty nice. The vocal melodies on this track, they are sweet, they are catchy, but also at the same time kind of angry, which gives this track a lot of colors and flavors. And then we have the rapping on this track, which is, as usual, pretty nice. The rhymes are pretty clever, the lyrics are actually pretty good, and pretty funny on this track as well. If I have a minor flaw with this track, that would be the fact that all the rap verses by Kanye here, they are all high-passed, which gives them sort of this, through the telephone feel, which isn't really all that engaging, but I still love the track overall. The third track, Power, really shows the gigantic ego of Kanye West, which is also one of the gripes I have with the album, is that very clearly Kanye West doesn't hold back on this album. Every single production choice and instrumental choice on this album just shows Kanye's hubris and ego, but when the ego and the hubris is well managed and well translated into musical form, honestly, I'm impressed. We have the track Power, the third track, all caps, and it's going to be powerful, and it's going to be about power. It's going to be incredibly dramatic with the very primal chants, the hand claps, the chomping beats, and the loud sirens that lead up to the very epic and dramatic instrumentations. It's a very empowering and epic song, I have to say. And we also get the sampling from Crimson King from the track 21st Century Schizoid Man. 21st Century Schizoid Man. And this little sample actually fits into the singing and the verses really well for some reason, which is incredibly impressive. Also, towards the end, we get some high-passed, distorted synths, which, again, gives this track some really nice texture. And also, we get some tasteful keyboards to end off, and it's a friggin' breathtaking track. I mean, it's not super multifaceted or versatile, but it is an incredibly bold and daring artistic statement, and yes, it's egotistic, but stunning at that. I gotta give Kanye that, Afterwards, even more ambitious, All of the Lights. But before All of the Lights, we get an interlude, which is basically some strings and pianos that feel passionate. It feels not innocent, but passionate, heartfelt. And then we have the song itself, which is equally as epic. It's incredibly colorful, incredibly vivid, and it's this really gigantic anthem. So many people are involved in this song, all the way from, of course, Rihanna's contribution in this track is huge. I mean, she does most of the vocals here. Elton John is on this track towards the end, singing with Alicia Keys. I think Jay-Z and Beyonce is somehow involved in the song as well. And we also have, of course, Kid Cudi, we have Fergie, we have, I think, The Dream, Charlie Wilson, and a bunch of others. I think Drake was also in this track, but his verse got cut off. Anyway, wow, this song, the instrumentals, they are colorful, and like the title itself, it's like blinking lights, just strobe lights, just very colorful, flashing at our face. It's like I'm watching the title sequence to Gaspar Noé's Enter the Void all over again, except less sinister but more catchy and fun. And if you've seen the music video, you know that it's a direct rip-off of Gaspar Noé, but still, I'm enjoying it. The beat on this thing, it has a really nice just boom 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 texture to it. I don't know how to describe it. It's meaty, kind of plastic key. It's just a really nice texture. And of course, we have the first 4 lines to the song, which is iconic. Something's wrong. I hold my head. MJ's gone. A brother dead. And of course we have the hook, which kind of turns some people off, but in my opinion it's actually really catchy. All of the lads, all of the lads. Anyway, again, the singing in this track, all the singing parts in the song are fantastic. They're fantastic, especially for that little part in the middle where the beat sort of disappears for a while and we get some really clear, youthful, lively pianos, and it's just this really just passionate singing, and it's just a fantastic. Also, Elton John at the end, just cherry on the top. If there's one gripe with the track, it would be Fergie's verse. It's like she's supposed to sing, she's supposed to rap 8 bars, but she only wrote 4, and then Kanye was like, what the hell are you doing? You're supposed to rap 8 bars. Where's the second half? And Fergie's like, I forgot. So Fergie was like, you know what, Kanye, just keep on looping my last line and just fill in the rest of the 4 bars. Yeah. And Kanye's like, fuck it, whatever. So that basically happened. And on Fergie's verse, she raps about declined credit cards and unemployment and not saying anything about it, which is just kind of, not that powerful of a verse in my opinion. But still, overall, it's a friggin' fantastic track. It's breathtaking. Afterwards, we have Monster, which is a really nice follow-up to the track. It features legendary rapper Jay-Z. We have Nicki Minaj and also Bon Iver, aka Justin Vernon, a folk singer. And we start off with some rough, raw, nasty a cappella singing that is muffled and, monstrous. And then afterwards, we get some low-key keyboards that are actually kind of pleasant and sweet, paired with some crunchy, snappy, primal drums, which is fantastic to the ears. We also get some repetitive, scratchy samples, which is amazing. I mean, on all of the tracks on this album, we really see Kanye having a knack for good sampling and just combinations of different sounds and instrumentals to create a larger sound. It's awesome. The track So Appalled is also over 6 minutes long, like Monster, and on this track we get some sad, dramatic strings, but they're not overdoing it. We also get some boomy drums, which is amazing. Pusha-T's verse here, pretty good. Jay-Z, amazing. We also get Prince Psyche and Swizz Beatz, I think, producing credits, and also RZA of Wu-Tang Clan is on this track as well for some reason. Another really solid track. I mean, I really don't have any complaints on this track. The hook is it's also pretty cool. 5-star dishes, different exotic fishes. I mean, the shit is fucking ridiculous. Actually, a year later on Kendrick Lamar's Section 80 on the track High Power, we have a very similar hook. 5-star dishes, food for thought, bitches. I also love the synths on this track. But moving over to the next track, we have Devil in a New Dress, which is the dreamiest and the most sensual track on the album, with its high-pitched R&B samples. It's a very ethereal and light track with some really nice lyrics about constellations and sensations. And Rick Ross's verse on this track is actually not that bad. It's actually pretty good. I also forgot to mention that Rick Ross is also on that Monster song. But still, overall, I think this is a really nice this track doesn't necessarily clean your sonic palettes on the album, but it's definitely a nice low point on the album. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, and it's ethereal in a really nice way. But what comes afterwards is truly stunning, and that is the song Runaway, which is 9 minutes long, and it is one of the most iconic Kanye West songs. Of course, you have the incredibly iconic singular piano notes on the in the beginning of the song, and then afterwards the bassy, instrumentals, they just fill in the entire room. It's so large in scale, and we also get some marchy drums, which pairs with the instrumentals really, really well. We also get some samples. Look at ya, look at ya, look at ya, which is, again, it just showcases how good of a taste Kanye has towards sampling. And it's just I wouldn't say emotionally potent, but definitely potent instrumentals that feels motivated. It feels captivating. It doesn't feel like a cheeky little fun banger track. It feels sincere. It feels honest, and that's what I really love about the instrumentals and the beats on the track. But also the hook and the singing is actually incredibly catchy here. Not the best singing in the world, I have to admit. And the hook isn't really the most poetic. I mean, he's giving toasts to the douchebags and the assholes. But still, I think the rap verses, the singing verses, they are fantastic. I think Pusha-T's verses are very badass here, and the ending with the electric guitars that are very dense and the strings is just a very nice creative choice. And overall, one of my favorite rap songs of the decade, period. Afterwards, we have the track Hell of a Life, which starts off with some really bloated, drony synths, and also some and also the synths, they are very rocky. And then afterwards, you have the track Hell of a Life, which starts off with some bloated, drony synths, which sort of builds up this really nice, sort of cheeky, rocky riff. The drums on this track with the bodily sounds, it's actually very, very cool. However, the delivery on this track is probably the most subdued on the entire album. Not that it's quiet, not that it's hushed, but it's the least energetic and the least entertaining. Plus the hook, while it's catchy, you have to admit, it's Iron Man. It's literally Iron Man. The the hook on this track, the chorus of this track, it literally came out of a Black Sabbath Iron Man. But still, I love the blossomy keyboards, and it's not a bad song at all. And then we have the track Blame Game featuring John Legend, and of course, John Legend singing here, fantastic. And we also get some really emotional, sad, dramatic pianos, but still, even though it's dramatic, it's not overdoing it. It's still concentrated. We also get some crowd sounds, some spoken word snippets, some recordings on this track here and there. We even have Chris Rock for outro. And even though Kanye West for the most part on this track sort of raps about his personal life, his social life, which isn't really all that interesting, I still find this track to be very sincere, very open, and also more importantly, actually, kinda well arranged and well composed. I mean, the musicianship is just on point on this track. Anyway, penultimate track, Lost in the World, featuring Bon Iver, aka Justin Vernon, which is mostly singing. We get some really dense auto-tune on this track, and plus some really colorful and lively instrumentals and beats. The drums, the primal drums, they're fantastic, and the track is lively, it's explosive, and it feels like we're in the middle of a very colorful musical jungle. This is what this track sounds like. And also this track is very large in scale as well as the penultimate track. I mean, it's called Lost in the World. Of course it's gonna be very large in scale, but anyway, I enjoyed the track a lot. And to end off, we have Who Will Survive in America, which is basically an extension to Lost in the World. It's 1 minute and 39 seconds long of an outro, and we get some spoken word where it essentially shits on USA, like, oh, USA and democracy and the generation nowadays, and politics and stuffs, and yeah, I mean, it's your usual Kanye West consciousness. It's not a terrible ending to the album, though. It could have been better if we have a more climactic ending to the album, but still, overall, I think the album is spectacular. There are a couple of flaws here and there, preventing it from being perfect. But still, the song ideas on the album, the production, the instrumentation, the rapping, the lyrics, the rhyme, the tons and tons of amazing guest features here, they're all fantastic. The sampling is brilliant, and it's just very tasteful and artistic and mainstream at the same time, which is, again, very impressive. My favorite track here is, I think, Runaway, and my least favorite is Hell of a Life. I am giving Kanye West's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy a 9 out of 10. So, have you listened to this album from 1 to 10? How much did you rate it? Like if you like it, hate if you hate it, and subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.